Hello everybody, welcome to ePathshala. I am Pulak Sengupta from Department of Geological Sciences. This is the part B of the module Entropy, Gibbs free energy and Clausius-Clapeyron equations. Let me quickly summarize what we discussed in the part A. We explained different properties of entropy, then I defined Gibbs free energy. Then I showed you a equation relating Gibbs free energy, enthalpy and entropy. From this equation I calculated the GT slopes of solid, liquid and gaseous at constant pressure, and then I discussed some significance of this equation. In this module, what should I do are as follows. I will begin with some mathematical expressions which I will be using throughout my talk. Then I will deduce Gibbs free energy from the first law of thermodynamics. Then I will show pressure and temperature dependence of G. From there I will calculate the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Finally, I will show you some geological example of Clausius-Clapeyron equations. So, what I should do? I should, as I said, I should start with the mathematical expression. Here we go. At the very outset, I like to remind you that next few slides will be all equations. I do not want that the audience get lost in the maze of the equations. I urge you just to follow the steps and try to understand the physical significance of this equation, then the life will be beautiful. Here I begin. My first equation is this, where Gibbs free energy is expressed in terms of enthalpy, which is heat content of the system, minus temperature in Kelvin times the entropy of the system. Remember that this is calculated at constant pressure and temperature. If you change the pressure and temperature, the value of G will vary. Now, just suppose that in a system where we have the heat content H, a part of which is converted to work. Then what happens? Then the remaining part will be waiting for the work to done, and we have some work. This is mathematically expressed as enthalpy or heat content equals to E plus the work W. What is E? E is the internal energy of the system. That means this represents total potential and kinetic energy of the system, and work is work. Now, what is work? Work is force into displacement. Now, if I split it into pressure, then what happens? This is pressure into area and then D. Now, if we combine these two, area is multiplied with a dimension which is volume. So, we have PV. Remember that PV always gives you the work. So, if we combine these two, then what we get is H equals to E plus PV. This equation I will be using in the subsequent discussion. Now, if I take differential of PV, what happens? This is elementary calculus. This will be P dV plus V dP. If I say that pressure is held constant, then this equation becomes P del V. Now, in many textbooks, you will find that this is work, as I said, that dW equals to minus P dV. Why it is so? Because the work done on the system must have a positive value. Now, if the work is done, the volume gets reduced, so actually we have a negative things for that. This to negative makes it positive. So, I will not get into this complication, I will use this equation. Now, I discuss a very important equation and which will relate the partial differentials with the total differential. Just let me begin with this simple equation. Let us say y is function of x and z. Okay. Now, I can write that dy, which is the exact differential of y, this is equals to partial differential of y with respect to x, then z is held constant, then exact the differential of x plus the other thing partial differential of y with respect to z at constant x with total differential of z. This is a very fundamental equation which will be used several times during my discussion. I repeat that exact differential of y or any parameter which is a function of two other things, it is expressed in this way: partial differential of y with respect to x when z is held constant and the total differential of x, and here this is the partial differential of y with respect to z and x is held constant and then it is multiplied with the total differential of z. Okay. So, this is very interesting thing. Let me write this equation again. This is the exact differential which is partial differential of y with respect to x and then come total differential plus partial differential of y with respect to z and total, sorry I did a mistake here, it should be x and then this is total differential of z. Remember that this is calculated when z is constant and here it is calculated when x is constant. I will give you some thermodynamics explanation of this equation or application I should say. Let us consider that entropy, in fact not consideration, we all know that entropy is a function of pressure and temperature. Now, let me use this equation. What will happen? The exact differential of entropy becomes equals to partial differential of entropy with respect to pressure and then this is the total differential of pressure plus partial differential of entropy with respect to temperature and we have total differential of temperature. So, if this is the scenario, then what we can do? How do I solve this equation? We need to solve this equation. So, as I mentioned in the earlier lecture that this is simple, you just take integral on both the side, then what happens this and then this. Now, remember that for complete solution of this equation, you need boundary conditions. Let us presume that the boundary condition is S298 when the temperature is 298 and pressure, so 298 and pressure is 1 bar. So, I write it 1 bar and let us presume that St and P is the entropy when the pressure is, temperature is P bars and pressure temperature is any temperature of my choice. Now, so I write to S298 St, then 1 bar and P and then 298 and temperature T. Let me give the lower boundary of entropy 298 and 1 bar and this is the pressure and temperature, and then the range is 1 bar to P and 298 to T. If I solve it, this will be SPT equals to S298 and 1 bar plus you have this part and you have this part. Okay. So, let us take it as A and let us take it as B. Okay. Now, so I have to write A plus B. So, what does it mean? It means that if I know the entropy at any reference temperature and pressure, I can calculate entropy at any pressure and temperature just using these things. Okay. So, this is a very important thing. Now, you may wonder why I have used 298 and 1 bar as the lower boundary. The reason is simple. The most of the entropy data which are published in literature are calculated at 298 degree Kelvin and 1 bar of pressure. So, if we want to calculate G at any pressure and temperature for entropy, we can use this equation to take the entropy value to that pressure and temperature. Now, look at this equation. What is this? This equation I discussed in the part 1. This is actually Cp by T. So, I can write integration of 298 and T Cp by T and dt. So, we can solve this equation using the Mayer-Kelly function which I showed in the first lecture. Now, what is this? This is pressure differential of entropy. This is really tricky. In many cases, you will find that this term is ignored. Why it is ignored? Because for solid and liquid, the pressure differential of these are not that much. But in case you are interested in getting the right solution, or if you use computers, then you have to put this as alpha V and it will start, there should be a negative value alpha V and this will be from 1 to P. Now, what is alpha? Alpha is the coefficient of thermal expansion, and this term you will find in your standard physics textbook, that this is equivalent to pressure differential of entropy. For most of the discussion, I like to make my life simple and I will not consider this one. Now, just remember that if I tell that the Cp is not changing, it is a fixed value, then what happens? Life becomes very simple, it becomes a constant and you can take it outside and do the solution. But I would advise you to use Mayer-Kelly function and let it be divided by T and get the solution. This I have shown in the previous lecture and you can get in that text itself. Similarly, we know that V is the function of pressure and temperature, and I can write the equation dV equals to partial differential of volume with respect to temperature and into total differential of temperature, pressure is held constant, and then partial differential of volume with pressure, temperature is held constant and total differential of pressure. Here please take that the system I am dealing with, this system has phases which have pure composition. That is why in none of the equation you will find compositional term are coming up. Okay. So, before using this equation, you have to ensure that your system is a pure system in which all the phases are pure. Fine. If we consider that my phase is solid, then what is this? This is coefficient of thermal expansion into volume plus, actually I should write beta and V, and then I should have the the solution of this from 298 to T, and this is dt, and this is 1 bar to B dP. Why negative sign? Because this is compressibility, that means if you add pressure, the volume will decrease. Okay. For most of the geological calculations, we do not consider these two terms as a very important terms, and I can simply write V PT equals to V 298 and 1 bar of pressure. Remember that if your substance is fluid, then you cannot use this, because in that case you have to express this V in terms of T. Okay. And I will not get into the complication, only thing you use Charles Boyle's combined equation and replace V with P and T. Last equation in this segment is, just suppose we have a reaction AA plus BB equals to CC and DB, where capital A, B, C, D are phases as a composition, and A, B, C and D are the stoichiometric coefficient, or sometimes it is called reaction coefficient. When we have these things, I will introduce a term which I call del X, where X is a property. This can be Gibbs free energy, this can be entropy, this can be enthalpy, this can be volume. So, how do I calculate? And del means difference. How will be the difference? Let me show you. This will be actually CXC plus DXD minus AXA minus BXB. Always the product properties comes first and the reactant properties comes under negative sign. Don't swap this relation, then entire analysis will be error. So, whenever you are calculating del property, always remember it should be product minus reactant. Now, let us consider that X equals to G. Then this will be, this is, sorry, I forgot to put equals to sign. Now, if X equals to G, then what happens? I can write delta G equals to CGC plus DGD minus AGA minus, sorry, this should be A and then BGB. So, this will give you the difference of Gibbs free energy of a system, of this reaction, not the system, of this reaction. Okay. So, this is how we calculate the Gibbs free energy change of a reaction. Similarly, I can calculate enthalpy change of a reaction, entropy change of a reaction and volume change of the reaction. The only thing I have to do, you have to replace G with either entropy or enthalpy or volume. So, the first segment is over. Now, I will deduce G from the first law of thermodynamics. Let me first state what is first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics tells that energy is conserved. That is, energy cannot be created nor be destroyed. This is a philosophical statement, but it has profound importance in science, which I will show. The first law of thermodynamics is actually expressed by this equation, where you have the small amount of energy added to this system, and this is the amount of work done, and this is the energy which is called internal energy that remained in the system. Now, from the second law of thermodynamics, we know the relationship between entropy and the energy added or subtracted. Now, if we replace dq with ds, it will look like this. So, we have now minus d minus dw plus tds, which is greater than equals to 0. If you combine these two, you will get this thing. Now, I will replace this one. It becomes pdv. In my previous discussion, I also showed that at constant pressure, the work done is equals to pdv, where dv is the small amount of volume change of the system. From there, that means if we rewrite this equation, we get this one. Now you may wonder, how come pdv becomes dpv or tds becomes dts? The reason is very simple. If you expand, this will be like this, the way you do simple differential calculus. And if you fix the pressure and temperature, then these two terms actually vanishes. So this is basically equals to this, and then that is the reason why I can derive this equation from here. Now, if I simplify this equation, this becomes d E plus PV minus Ts. Now, what is this? What is E plus PV? I have already discussed. This is equals to enthalpy, and we have enthalpy minus Ts. This is the term which we call Gibbs free energy. This is how we derive the Gibbs free energy from the first law of thermodynamics. If we continue, we get this relation dg greater than equals to 0. Now let us take an equation, a chemical reaction, where A plus B is giving away to C plus D. If the reaction is spontaneous, that is, if the reaction is driven to the right, then we have this relation. Del G I already discussed. This is the difference of property between product and reactant. Product will come first and then comes the reactants. So minus D del G will be greater than 0 if the reaction is spontaneous. That is, G of this side will be lower than G of this side, and that's why A and B will be unstable. So if you reorganize this, this becomes D del G equals to, I mean it is less than equals to 0. At equilibrium, you remember that no side gets the preference, and that's why the D del G becomes equals to 0. Now I come to the second part. Here I will show how the Gibbs free energy depends on pressure and temperature. When we are dealing with the question how G is dependent on pressure and temperature, that means G is a function of pressure and temperature, and from there we get this differential equation. I have already discussed that what is the relationship between exact and partial differential, and using that principle actually I derive dg in terms of this. This is because this part, if we combine first and second law, you get this relation that minus d minus pdv plus tds equals to 0. So eventually ds, where E plus PV is enthalpy of the system. Now if we take a differential, just blindly you take the differential of both sides, then you get these relations. Now from there we can derive the relation dg equals to minus sdt plus vdp. Now you may wonder what happens to the other terms. This is because this part, if we combine first and second law, you get this relation that minus d minus pdv plus tds equals to 0. So eventually this relation becomes this. Let us give the name y here. So we have x, which gives the small change of g, and we have another equation which also gives small change of g. So obviously right hand side of the two equation will be the same. So if this is the scenario, then we can compare these two equations and we can write that partial differential of g with respect to temperature is minus entropy, and pressure differential at constant temperature is volume. This is the three-dimensional GPT diagram of two phases, let's say alpha and beta. The GT slope I discussed in module 4a, how it is derived. Now this GT slope is the slope on this plane, but GP slopes will lie on this plane, that is G and P. Now each G of the substance will have slope along the right, which is GT slope, and away from us, that is the GP slope. Now at equilibrium, which is shown by dotted line here, for example, if we take the temperature here you see that G of both alpha and beta are same, so two phases will be in equilibrium. In fact, all along this line we have this equilibrium relation. But if we move right hand side of the T, you see that Gibbs free energy of the beta phase is lower than the Gibbs free energy of the alpha phase, and that's why the beta will be stable. And at temperature lower than this equilibrium value, the reverse thing happens and alpha becomes more stable than beta. Now let us calculate the slope of a reaction in a PT space. This will be my last segment of this talk, where small a, small b, small c and small d are the coefficients, and A, B, C, D all in caps represent the phases involved in the reaction. Now the relation I have just derived, from there we can write this reaction, that d del G equals to del V dP minus del S dt, and at equilibrium del G becomes 0 and we have this relation dP dt equals to del S by del V. This equation is known as Clausius-Clapeyron relations. This is one of the most fundamental relation we use in geology and material science. Slope of any reaction in a PT space is defined by del S by del V. Let us consider a solid-solid reaction. Jadeite plus coarse equals to albite. So let this be the slope of this reaction. This has a positive slope. That means the del S and del V, the signs are such that they cancel out. So they become a positive, their slope, it becomes a positive one. Now the jadeite and quartz will be on this side and albite will be on this side. When you will be dealing with thermodynamics, the question or the confusion a person has or may have is which side I will place which assemblage. On this line, all the three phases will be present. Now, where do I put albite? This side or that side? Who determines that? Always look at the entropy and change and volume change values. If the change of entropy is positive, that means the reaction where the product phases will have more entropy than the reactant phases. And if the del V is positive, the same thing happens for volume. The product volumes are more than the reactant volume. Now, if the entropy and volume, both you know that both entropy and volume are dependent on temperature. The ones or the phases which have higher entropy, they will be placed to higher temperature because high temperature increases the entropy. Similarly, the side which has lower volume will be placed at this side because it cannot be stable on this side, on the high pressure side. So this is how we actually place the the phases with respect to a reaction line. Now let us consider three geothermal gradients. The first two are low pressure, high temperature. Second one is intermediate pressure, intermediate temperature, and third one is high pressure, low temperature. Now have a look at the diagram very carefully and you can see the importance of Clausius-Clapeyron equation. For these two geothermal gradients, the rock will never meet a condition where jadeite and quartz will be stable. That is the reason why jadeite and quartz are not found in low pressure, high temperature or intermediate pressure, intermediate temperature. No matter what is the value of temperature and pressure, you can extend the line, you will never get jadeite plus quartz. But the reaction is intersected by the third geothermal gradient, that is the high pressure, low temperature, what you have in the subduction zone. And in this rock, where we get the high pressure metamorphic rock, we get jadeite bearing assemblage. The reason is that the geothermal gradient cuts this reaction and it passes from albite field to jadeite plus quartz field. Now let us show you another type of reaction. This kind of reaction actually releases fluid. Now if you look at the textbook or any papers, you will find that dehydration and decarbonation reactions always have a slope like this. Initially it is almost asymptotic, then it starts steepening and then it becomes very steep. What is the reason? Look at the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. At low pressure what happens? The change of volume is more than change of entropy, because at low pressure volume expands like anything. So if we write the reaction Muscovite plus coarse equals to potash phosphor plus sillimanite plus water, then the del V at low pressure will be much larger than del S. Then what happens? Look at this equation. If del V is much larger than this one, then this value tends to 0. So that the slope will be almost flat. Now if we increase the pressure, what happens? Now fluid being a highly compressible substance, that means you can compress the fluid, compared to the solid phases, the change of volume becomes lower than the change of entropy, and that's why the slope of this reaction becomes very steep. Sometimes what happens, the change of volume of this reaction is such that it is almost 0. So del S by 0 means infinity, and infinity means 90-degree slope. So eventually it starts with a shallow slope, it gets steepened, and eventually it becomes absolutely 90-degree. And this is how we explain the differential behavior of solid-solid and solid-fluid reactions. Thank you very much for listening to me.